Okay, so I'm here today with Johnny Bankston, and he's a remote pilot operator at Miami Air Traffic Control Tower. So this obviously comes as the government shutdown that happened on October 1st. It's almost going to be a month that a shutdown has happened. Now, the president of the National Air Traffic Control Association, Nick Daniels, has warned the public about how we can see delays and even cancellations with flights. But before we get into all of that, Johnny, I want to know, what does a typical day look like before the government shutdown?
Sure. So a typical day before the government shutdown looks like, well, we have a full parking lot full of people ready to work, and now we don't have that anymore. The parking lot's like half empty, and we have just about half the staff. And usually we are, constantly training new controllers to help with the staffing issue, but now that's kind of been put on hold due to the government shutdown.
Johnny, so have you seen any type of differences when it comes to the quality of work you guys are producing at the air traffic building?
Definitely, we have to start improvising. We're delayed on certain things, not just that my facility specifically in Miami, but I've seen in other facilities too, where some airports have even shut down temporarily, or they've had to kind of stop some of their operations a little bit because there's just not enough staff during the shutdown.
And I want to, before we get into all of that with the government shutdown and how it's affecting air traffic controllers and airports, I do want to kind of get an idea of what you do for work. So tell me, what exactly is the responsibility of a remote pilot operator?
Right. So before air traffic controllers can go onto the floor and actually start doing air traffic control for real airplanes, when they're training, they have to start in simulators. So I am a person who operates those simulators to help train air traffic controllers. So they'll give me commands, much like they would do real aircraft or real pilots, and I would type the commands in and respond to them as a pilot. And it's part of the training process for air traffic controllers.
And this is not the last step for you in your career. Is that correct, or are you trained to become an air traffic controller yourself?
Yes, I am willing to become an air traffic controller. No help to the shutdown, of course. The application process is now still something that might be on kind of a delay due to the shutdown. So, but yes, I am training to become an air traffic controller myself.
All right. And we keep talking about the shutdown, so let's go ahead and get right into it. The NPR just reported on the 24th of this month that the federal workers missed their first paycheck. Now, what kind of stress are you and other coworkers under, knowing the system still depends on you all while the funding is frozen?
Right. So, air traffic control is a pretty important job. It's kind of tedious, takes a lot of focus and stuff. And having that stress of, not being able to pay your bills, support your family, and the uncertainty of when you'll be able to do that again, it adds a kind of an at-home stress that, obviously isn't favorable while we're kind of required to focus on our job. So, yeah, just a lot of pressure. It's at-home pressure that's kind of being put on us.
I don't know if you've seen it, but it's funny you say about the about people wanting to support their families. They just don't know where and when it's going to come from. So I don't know if you've seen it yet, but Stephen A. Smith and News Nation held a Q&A with different governors and senators, and one person in particular said that he was an air traffic controller, that he has taken time off his job just so he can go work DoorDash and Uber Eats to provide for his daughter's college tuition. Johnny, have you been seeing that at your own building where you have seen a lot of people kind of take off and get other jobs?
Yeah, definitely. Air traffic control is just like any other people. You need money to survive, and if we're not able to do that, we're going to have to resort to other ways to get that money to, provide and survive on our own. So, just because the government is shut down doesn't mean that your bills, utility bills, your rent, your mortgage and stuff, none of that is also shut down. You're still being required to pay that kind of stuff. And as expensive as everything is now, especially for somebody that's just getting started as a controller, you're probably living check to check. And if you're surviving on check to check and you're not receiving that money, then that's an issue.
And what type of impact has that had in your life personally, not getting paid this whole month due to the government shutdown? Has that been affecting you in your daily life?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of strategic financial planning. a lot of not spending on things that I would like to spend on, a lot of plans that I have on hold because I'm not receiving the money right now, so everything's kind of just on hold. Unfortunately, because the shutdown is happening.
I want to know because, like you said, this is a new kind of change of life for some people who may just start out living paycheck to paycheck, being an air traffic controller. I want to know, what do the meetings look like when they call you guys in and explain to you guys what's happening, what's the outcome, when can we see some daylight? What's going on in those meetings?
Because we don't really have meetings about it. It's kind of just we're playing it by ear. We don't have any confirmation on our end of when shutdown will let up, or we don't have any information really uh, very much at all about when things are going to get better. But we have had some small support from other entities, like some of the airlines. They'll maybe buy us lunch because they know the shutdown is going on, or something small like that, which is a great gesture. We do appreciate their support, but at the end of the day, we are still it's the uncertainty, and this is right now, but the second longest shutdown in history, and there's still no sign of it letting up. So, just the uncertainty is kind of like we don't know what's going to happen.
Have you personally noticed at work that flights are getting canceled and delayed?
Yeah, flights are getting canceled and delayed. Especially, I think Burbank was the first one where the airport was actually kind of shut down due to they didn't have enough people there. They didn't have any staffing to do air traffic control. And there are other airports that have also either completely shut down temporarily, or they've shut down a certain amount of aircraft going there. So there's been a number of ground stops going on because of the shutdown. It's because of these airports, as far as air traffic, they're already understaffed, and then people they call out, either they're sick or whatever. There are different reasons, and the shutdown just really isn't helping the situation at all. So it's played a big role in a lot of the delays and shutdowns, and delays and ground stuff that have happened with some flights.
So you said something very interesting, which was a pretty common fact now, that air traffic is already understaffed. And this government shutdown is set to make that number go smaller and smaller. Now, say this shutdown leads all the way into next year, because we're not that far off. Where do you think the staining of air traffic controllers will come to? Will we have a lot less than we already have now? Or do you think that the kind of the air traffic controllers will kind of stick it through, and hopefully we will have them on board still?
Yeah, so as far as staffing goes and numbers, the way air traffic works is there is a required age where you have to retire by. I believe it's 54. So, usually a 30-year career. So air traffic controllers that turn 54, or they became air traffic controllers 30 years ago, they now have to retire. So it's a job that has to constantly be replaced by new employees. So and one of the processes that you have to go through to be air traffic controller is to go to the academy. Now, for instance, let's say there's a group now at the academy that's probably about 3 months in. If the shutdown continues, those people that are 3 months in at the academy are going to have to be called back home, and then I have to go back to the academy and start from square one. So that's going to set everything else back, because other people have to come in after them. So that's going to have to set, including myself, because I'm also waiting to go to the academy myself. So they get delayed and they have to start over. Then that 3 months they spent there, it's going to delay them. It's going to delay everybody else behind them. And even in-house training. So when you get to a facility, you have to do training, which is what I specialize in. These guys are also kind of being delayed in that sense too, just because they're not receiving checks, they're not allowed to work. So yeah, like I said, we were understaffed before, and the fact that the training and the hiring is being delayed is also not going to be a good thing going forward.
This is kind of question I'm curious about, but have you seen or heard any close calls or safety concerns that might be linked to the fatigue or understanding since the government shutdown began?
Not since the government shut down, no, but there was a big thing. I think it was like in 2022 or 2023 I think it's 2023 when NACA, the union, came out with an article talking about, the reason for the near misses was because of the fatigue of air traffic controllers being overworked. So that's kind of been the most recent push to hire more air traffic controllers. And again, the shutdown just doesn't help with any of that. But I haven't heard that there hasn't been any close calls due to the shutdown. But I don't want to wait around until that happens. So I hope for the government to open up before we get to that point.
with the fatigue, mental health declining, and air traffic controllers, are you hearing anything about how not even the government, but even people in your building, right, or other external organizations, do they come in and help you guys kind of work through it? Is there any type of mental health resources you guys use, or it's just go to work and do your best?
I do believe that the union is also helping us with getting mental health resources for this kind of deal. But at the end of the day, the government just needs to open up in order for us to, to be able to do our jobs. Yeah, there's only so much mental help you can get when, you know, the bills start piling up. It's not really a mental issue at that point. It's kind of a I need to get money. So, that's kind of the same, control just need mental health when their bills are piling up. That's kind of just putting a bandage over a bigger issue and not really fixing it. So it ultimately, everything will be resolved when the government opens up.
So I see this pattern now. Every question that I ask, the solution is the government has opened up. The government has opened up. Well, my question to you is, what is the long-term risk for the aviation system if the shutdown like this continues to happen? Like I say, I asked a question earlier about it, but about throughout, what if it goes to 2026? But what does it look like as far as the risk factor if it does go that long?
And so I would like to say that I'd probably doubt that it lasts that long in 2026. I would really hope not. Um, but as far as long term, you're going to have a lot of airlines that are going to be losing money. So that's going to be a big thing for them. And then for air traffic control, again, with the hiring, we need, it's already kind of hard to get people to go to the academy as it is. So having that delay is just going to make it harder to staff people. And it's going to continue to, hurt the issue that already exists that we're understaffed. So we're at this point, I think the FAA is trying to get employ as many people as possible, and this delay just doesn't help that.
And how is that hiring process working? Because you have to go through, like you said, a bunch of training. You have to be qualified. You have to go through a lot of mental tests. With this government shutdown, that have people losing their jobs, but also is kind of letting the union know that they need to hire more people. Do you think that the union will hire more unqualified people because of this?
No, the process of becoming air traffic controller is very rigorous, and it's actually there's a pretty big fail rate. That's why it is kind of hard to try to staff air traffic controllers. So I don't think we'll be hiring more underqualified people. Matter of fact, to become an air, there's so many qualifications you have to become an air traffic controller that if you don't pass those things, then you just won't become one. But I don't think it'll ever be to the point where we just start hiring people who are unqualified.
You said something earlier when you used to go to work before the government shut down. You used to come to a full parking lot. Now you said that parking lot is half full to almost empty. What would you say the percentage of people that now work in the building from before and after the government shutdown? What would you say?
I can't really give you a real percentage. I'm not sure how many people don't work there now, but what I will say is it's a lot easier to find a parking spot, whereas before I would have to kind of go around and look for one. So I can't give you real numbers on that, but it's definitely a significant amount.
Okay. Now my next question. Sorry, we cut out a little bit. That's why I had to pause the video just in case for those at home or listening. My next question to you is during the 2018-2019 shutdown, the BBC recorded that TSA and air traffic shortages led to significant disruption. Do you see that happening in this government shutdown if that not has happened already?
Yeah, definitely. Like I mentioned earlier, there's been delays in certain airports. Certain airports are shut down temporarily. I think Burbank and LaGuardia or some in Newark, were some that are shut down temporarily. But yeah, they're definitely different. There are definitely a lot of delays. A lot of people are getting canceled flights because of this, and everybody's just kind of not happy about it.
I'm curious, what if you can speak directly to lawmakers, what would you want them to know about how this shutdown specifically affects people in that air traffic building? What would you tell them?
Yeah, there's more stress. First of all, it affects more than just people in the building. It affects everybody. I mean, if you have a flight, guess what? It affects you too. It affects the airlines. It affects all the people working at the airlines. It affects the controllers. It affects the technicians. There's a lot of different people that make up the national airspace system, and it affects everybody. And it all comes down to, I guess, for controllers specifically, and not just controllers, but everybody in the FAA and the government is how are we going to be able to provide for our families, pay our bills, and stuff like that. But I would say we're not at home just chilling. We're actually struggling. They should consider that when it comes to making these shutdowns happen.
I'm also I'm a frequent traveler, right? And I've been on about 16 flights this whole year so far. And so far, I've had the best luck ever since the government shutdown has began. I've caught about 4 flights since that has begun. Johnny, do you think, will I still have that luck of going to the airport and finding my flight and it's not delayed or canceled? Do you think that is now more likely or less likely?
Definitely more likely, and the longer the shutdown happens, the more likely you're probably going to be delayed. So I definitely, if you do plan on, flying somewhere, I would, um, I would definitely look out at the news and at the information that they give when you book your ticket, when you buy your ticket, because it's a good chance that you could be delayed. Your flight could be delayed or it could be canceled or a pushback due to the shutdown.
And just off of your knowledge, what you've been seeing, are routine safety inspections and training and certifications being delayed because of the lack of government funding?
Yes, I'm not sure that it has fully taken place where everything's been delayed, but there have been some small delays where, yes, some people have been kind of pushed back, or they have to kind of stop their training for a while, or they have not been able to get certified because they're not able to, work and do things they need to do to get certified. So, yes, that has happened. That has started to happen. And it will, as long as the shutdown keeps going on, like I said, the academy eventually will be affected. They do have some funding for a while. I believe it's through November. I can't give a specific date, but someday through November they do have some funding. But past that, which we don't know when the shutdown will let up, anytime past that, I believe it will start to affect the people at the academy, which are all the new hiree controllers, which we've worked so hard to try to, or the government has worked so hard to try to get on board. They'll then be delayed, and it'll affect that.
And Johnny, before we get out of here, I did want to ask you, what is one thing that you were prepared to talk about today that I did not ask you about?
Yeah, just I know that air traffic control, they've been the ones that's in the news, but there's a lot of other entities within the FAA that have also been affected by the shutdown, and are also big parts of the whole keeping the national airspace safe system, such as technicians, you have engineers, you have a lot of different personnel that are also going through the same thing, not just air traffic control. You have a lot of people in management, you have a lot of people that are in the hiring process, a lot of different people that are just, you don't necessarily hear about them in the news, you just kind of hear air traffic control. But it affects a lot of people, and it all affects how we are able to do our jobs. So most people don't get mentioned enough. So I feel like I should just mention them here, because But yeah, it's not just air traffic control; it's a lot of other people within the FAA.
All right. Thank you so much, Johnny. I appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Have a good day.
You as well.